Hey, everybody. Stu Smith here going live. Happy Monday. Happy MLK Day. Um, Hope you guys are enjoying a day off if you are. And if you're not, that's okay too. Anyway, it's Monday, and we're going to chat a little bit about um, not going into the mentality of all or nothing type focus, which I understand. Sometimes it matters in a way, but if you're just trying to train and de-stress and um, maintain and improve, and recovery is the most important part of it, right? So sometimes you need a recovery day. Sometimes you have to force one because the time is limited. In fact, I wrote this article. You guys can see it in the comment section. It's an article titled "No Time, Do the Most Important Thing." And sometimes just life gets in the way of your best made plans and you don't have time to go do the workout. I'll put it over here on Instagram as well. But it's up on my website, Stu Smith Fitness. You guys can see it in the article section. And really what it's all about is um, you're running short on time. Maybe you have 50% of what you normally could do. How do you get it in? So, for instance, if it's a strength day, maybe you do an AMRAP, or as many reps as many rounds as possible in a 30-minute period. That's one way to do it. Make it a circuit with no rest. You could definitely get a lot done in 30 minutes if you take out your rest periods. Sometimes you need rest periods if you're going super heavy, but um if you want to treat it more like a conditioning workout versus a strength training workout, take out the rest periods. You can get a whole lot more done in the time allowed. Same for running. If you need a break, go zone two. Make it easy. If you don't need a break and you want to push it, you can get a lot of running done in 30 minutes. You see how fast you can run 4 miles. Can you get it done in 28 or faster? There you go. There's a 30-minute workout. You can do some Norwegian 4x4s. Those suck. And you hit 4 minutes as fast as you can and then try to recover for 3 minutes. Do it again 4 times. That's a good little 30-minute workout as well. um, so anyway, the gist of this article was really just about, don't treat it like, I only have 30 minutes. I can't do my whole workout. When you can't do everything, do the most important. That's pretty much sums up what this article's all about. Focus on your compound movements, right? Those are a great way to get started and get something done that will feel like you did something. Another one is like, every minute on the minute, or AMRAPs, or add weight vests to your calisthenics. If you're great at calisthenics, add 30 pounds. you know, you're going to be done half as fast or half as long, right? It twice as fast. You'll be done in 20 minutes. If you have weight vest calisthenics and try to do a pyramid, you're toast. Um, but if you really need a focus, like what do I do? I think focus on your weakness, right? What is your weakness? Are you a runner? Then go do strength training. Are you a strength guy? Go do a run or a cardio event. Right? Give don't don't let the day get ruined because you just ran out of time because life got in the way. Something I like to do is mobility. And I'll do a mobility day whenever I don't have a whole lot of time, because 30 minutes of mobility can definitely last all day, and I feel great afterwards. And I feel like I did something. My bones and joints don't hurt. That's a good feeling. So here's in conclusion, I'm just going to say this. A 20-minute workout is 100% better than a 0-minute workout you would have done otherwise. So think of it that way. Something we did today, 18 degrees, and we did a hill day, which if you're not familiar with our hill day, it is a 2.25 miles just to get to the hill. A little icy out there, so we took a nice easy zone 2, kind of lit up the path, and then and then ran the hill, which is about a 1/4 mile hill. Not super steep, but I will say this: if it was any longer, it would really suck. I mean, it's at that point where it's like this almost sucks pretty bad. But if it was another half mile or 1/4 mile longer, it would be really horrible. So it's just enough. You do multiple sets of that. It's really good. And you go up really fast, jog down, walk slow down slow, recover, hit that thing, and then come back with some 4x4s. 4 minutes fast, 3 or 4 minutes easy, all the way back. Works pretty well. And you know what? It's 18 degrees. It was dark and cold. And you know what? When it's dark and cold, you know what you do? You get lit and layered. I got a big old light on my head. Shows me my path is clear. And I got a double sweatshirt on. Easy day. Not a hard thing. Though we did have guys in t-shirts and shorts, which I was like, all right, man, you're tougher than I am. Good job. But yeah, 18 degrees, no excuse. Get it out there, get it done. So no questions over here on Instagram. Let's see what we have over here on YouTube. Raccoon Jones says, I hear Jake criticizes guys for enlisting with a degree all the time. What's your view on enlisting with a degree? Yeah, this is where he and I differ in opinion. I can't tell you how many guys have enlisted with degrees that have come through here, enjoyed their job as a SEAL, got to do sniper school, got to do JTAC school, and then later went to OCS and became an officer. In fact, we just had a couple guys in one of the last classes do that, and they drove past here on their way up to OCS. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's, is it a risk? Sure. But anything's a risk. I do say this. I will compromise, and I say, look, if you have a college degree and if your timeline allows it, apply for the officer route anyway. Right? If you have a year in this process to really prepare, try for the officer route, see if you get it. You might get invited to SOAS. Then you get this week-long event of buds under your belt. You can treat it like, do I really want to do this? You may change your mind altogether and say, you know what? I don't even want to be a SEAL after going through this. This really sucked. Or you might double down and say, this is awesome. I want to come back. I don't care how I come back, officer or enlisted. If I get accepted as officer, I go officer. If I don't, I'll go enlist. So that is how I compromise with those folks. In fact, we had a guy recently, he was the only guy in the group that didn't get picked up for OCS. And we had like 6 guys, all got picked up, OCS, buds. And the 7th guy didn't get picked up. He was a great candidate. I'm not sure what happened there. Physically, no problem. Could have been an interview, could have been something else. I don't know those details. So he decided to enlist. And then the day before he was shipping out in January this month, they called him up and said, hey, you got an OCS slot. Do you want to go? Because I guess they had some alternate issues. Some people didn't qualify after getting, or they changed their mind, didn't want to go. So there's a slot, and they called him. He goes, hey, man, I'm about to ship tomorrow. And the guy was like, well, you know what? Good job. We'll be here. We'll see you here in a few months. And, I went Mustang and, loved it. So Mustang means you enlist first, then go officer later. So sorry for the long answer on that, but um, that's how I think of it, and it's really up to you. You know, if you let somebody's opinion drive you one way or another, you know, it's okay to listen, but you don't have to do it, right? Same for me. You know, I give my opinion all the time. Might not fit what you want to do. You know, I'm not offended if you don't listen to me. Usually, though, I don't give opinions like that. I'll give an opinion on how to train and, you know, what your athletic history requires versus give an opinion on what you should actually do and what service you should join and things like that. That's all your choice. You know, I tell people all the time, it's not my job to motivate you to serve your country. You know, I don't care how you decide to serve your country. If you decide to serve your country, great. I will help you all the way. Anything you do to preserve joint and tendon health? Yeah, you know what? Check out a podcast I did with Nick Barringer. Um, it's up on YouTube. It's you can also find it. It's a tactical fitness report. Um, tactical fitness report. Nick Barringer. He and I did like 3 or 4 different um 3 or 4 different podcasts. One of them was just talking nutrition. The other one was about nutrition and spec ops and testing. Other one was a creatine study. Um, Another one was nutrition for joint health. Here we go. In fact, I'll put this in here for you. As man, you see, I just got it all for you. So, Gary, check this out. This is podcast 226 on the Tactical Fitness Report, and it is Nick Barringer showing you what you can eat and supplements to take for joint and tendon health. That it is a wealth of information over there. So check that out. Um, Wavy Tan says, "Hey, what's up, Stu Marine here? Do you have a do have a question for you in terms of training. Both my legs are covered in stress fractures from boot camp 2 years ago. It's been a year and a half, still haven't healed. Damn, dude. I don't know what that is. I mean, maybe it's a vitamin D, K2 calcium issue. I don't know. You know, that put it this way. Stress fracture, you know, shin splints, knee tendonitis. I can help you a little bit on that. When we're talking stress fractures, you immediately go above my pay grade because my answer to stress fractures is you got to rebuild your bones. So there's a couple ways to do that, and there's a couple studies out there that show lifting weights with your legs will help you build stronger bones. That's completely not only studies prove it, but it's common sense. The other one is I saw this one recently and doing stair steppers, but you do a stair stepper with an impact. So you're not like tippy toeing it, right? You're putting impact on those stairs as you do it, and it's supposed to help you. Now, if you're close to having stress fractures, still have them, you know, that may hurt. So you may want to still do them, but don't impact force them. Um, I've seen that do some wonders for people. Rucking without running, just weighted walks is another one. Walking backwards with weighted, you know, backpack or weight vest, that may help as well. But yeah, um, yeah, eat well too. I don't know. There may be something in your diet that is screwing up your calcium and in your bones or something. I don't know. So it could go beyond just physical fitness helping you. You might need to talk to a nutritionist or dietitian. Hey Stu, what's one thing to know going into buds? This is easy. Your weakness will be exposed. The hell was that? Your weakness will be exposed um, in the first week of buds. Whatever weakness that is, it will be exposed. Weakness in the water, can't run, can't ruck, can't do load bearing activities, can't do push ups and sit ups very well. It'll be exposed. It'll be exposed in prep. Definitely buds orientation. So that's the one thing you don't want to have, a weakness. And what's that mean? That means get good at everything. Good at everything. Strength, power, speed, agility, endurance, multiple forms of endurance, run, ruck, swim, muscle stamina, high rep calisthenics, mobility, flexibility, grip. Um, yeah, that's them. That's the tactical athlete elements of fitness that you need to be good at all of them. And if you get great at one and neglect another, doesn't matter. You might be the best swimmer in the world, but if you can't run, you're done. Might be the best runner in the world. Can't handle load, you're done. Any tips on shin splints? I'm not huge, but not tiny for a runner, 6', 180. When the volume hits the front of my leg starts. I do have a couple of articles in there on shin splints, and you can just put in shin splints, Stu Smith, and there's a couple. There's one from military.com that I wrote, and there's one that I wrote with. In fact, I'll put them in the comment section. And there's one I wrote with a doctor of physical therapy. In fact, he wrote it. I just kind of put my touch on it. Get this one in here. So I'm going to send you 2 article links here. Fix your shin splints. Doctor's name is Seth Donaldson. He used to train with us when he was local. He has since moved on, moved out of state, but we think of him. If you're listening, Seth, we miss you. Come back and see us. Wavy Tan says, went to boot camp at 240. Damn. Yeah, I bet you did get slayed. So, like I just said about the weaknesses, being 240 is weak. Will make you weak because your grip's going to suck if you're doing an obstacle course. Pull-ups are going to suck at 240. Running's going to suck at 240. Pretty much everything's going to suck at 240. So hopefully you're under 200 now, I would assume. I can't 18 on your left leg. That's insane. My advice is ask to get a bone scan. I'm not sure what a CT scan will show on a bone. Maybe it shows stress fractures. I don't know, but I know a bone scan will. And usually that's like a dye you take, and I don't know. See if that works. Notice changing my runs from concrete to asphalt to sand to grass helped a ton. Oh, good. Yeah, we were talking last week about that. It does help, man. Soft sand or softer ground helps a lot with shin pain and knee tendonitis and stress fractures. That's another one. Don't run on concrete, Wavy Tan. I've been rucking and walking backwards to keep my muscles built. Okay, good, good. I eat chicken and rice because I have lymphedema. Can't eat more than 1,300 calories without gaining weight. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Yeah, if you're low calories, you definitely, if you're under 1,300 calories and a growing man, young man, you need to be talking to a nutritionist for anything under 2,000 calories. 1,300 is like big red flag for me. You got to do more activity. If 1,300 calories is maintaining you. Like normally, if you're highly active, 2,000 calories will maintain you. In fact, 2,000 calories could be a deficit if you really train. Yeah, I dropped to 175. Damn, 240 to 175. Got sick, and I'm up to 195, 1,300 calories a day for the past 6 months. Yeah, I don't know, man. Obviously, your nutrition is not allowing you to recover from shin splints. There's got to be something in your diet that you're missing. If you can't eat some green leafy vegetables, that's going to help you with type of stuff you need, calcium, phosphorus, K2, D3, get some sun out there. Hey, Stu, is being flat footed a problem? I don't think it's a problem, but it's not an asset. I mean, you can get through training with flat feet these days. Stu, do you take vitamin C every day? I heard buds they take 1,000 milligrams every day recommended. I don't know. I mean, I do. I take. In fact, I just did vitamin C and zinc. Little gummy. I like these gummies. And then I eat a lot of foods that have vitamin C in it as well. Just fruits. All right. Hey, Stu, always appreciate your insight. Training for AF Spec War contract. On my recovery mobility days, I have trouble front flipping in 10 feet. Can't seem to stop the pain of water rushing into my nose during the flip. Yeah, you got to exhale during the flips. Just through your nose. Just a little bit of exhale, put a little pressure in there so water doesn't go in there. I've gotten used to bobbing and emptying my lungs when I'm at the bottom. When I bottom bounce, you're a floater. Yeah, could lose a little fat, I guess. Make it a little floating or make it a little bit easier. Makes floating easier, but makes bobbing very difficult. Is there anything you recommend other than just getting used to it? No, getting used to it is a fine answer, but just make sure you exhale just a little bit when you do that flip. Makes a big difference. I do. I always exhale when I flip. Physical always matters. I'm disappointed that federal agents are fat and out of shape. PT not required like in the military. Facility gym is optional. People eat like crap. Yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame. And they're your partners. You really sucks. maybe this, what do they call it? GLP, Wegovy or whatever. Maybe that'll help. Because everybody wants a pill to get in shape. Lose weight and get in shape. They'd rather not do the hard part. That's just the state of the way people are. Currently preparing for PST with a 9-minute run. 14-minute swim. Yeah. 10 pull-ups, that's low. 60 sit-ups, that's low. I don't see your push-ups. The program I'm applying for utilizes air crew swimmer standards. Understand? Yeah, if you're going to do air crew standards, you definitely need to swim faster than that. My advice would be take lessons, because most likely you can swim freestyle. Anybody can teach you freestyle. You don't need to learn CSS. Just get in shape and do freestyle. I mean, if you want to learn CSS, I got plenty of videos to learn how to add that to your swimming strokes. But yeah, CSS is easy to learn because everybody knows how to teach CSS. Nobody knows how to teach. I'm sorry. Freestyle is easy to learn. Nobody knows how to teach CSS very well. Yes, you need more time in the pool. If you can utilize CSS, then that's great. I would do this. If you can swim freestyle and use CS because it's fast, and use CSS as a recovery set. So like swim 50 hard or whatever, swim 50 freestyle. You get a little winded, do a 25 CSS, then swim 50, 25 CSS, swim 50. Get in shape to do that. Once that gets easy, then turn the whole thing into a freestyle swim, and you'll probably get a yard per second. Get that thing in the 8 or 9 minutes. To that question, Ryan says take 1,000 milligrams calcium per day. So that's 3 glasses of milk. So you can use capsules if you want, or even cheese. Yeah, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not sure how much you need to take on calcium to get stronger bones, but I'm sure you could Google it or actually talk to a nutritionist and get your answer. What's the difference between buds prep and orientation? Good question. Buds prep is, depending on when you show up, it's about 6 to 8 weeks. They're trying to get some time in after boot camp because most people who show up there are either from the fleet or um, coming from boot camp. So that means they're probably a little deconditioned. So they use prep to kind of get you back in shape. And it's nothing hard. You're working out every day for a living and you should enjoy it because it's the best. Um, and you're going to take a PST. You don't pass that PST, you're going to fail. So my advice is get really good at the PST. Otherwise, you're not going to move forward to go to Bud's orientation. Bud's orientation is going to be a little bit more like Bud's. You're going to learn how to do logs and boats and, more Bud's events, 4-mile timed runs, 2-mile swims, swimming with fins more. You'll still swim with fins and do drown proofing and all that stuff at prep, but it's more basic conditioning to get back in shape. And then Bud's orientation is getting you ready for what's to come. And then the hammer drops when you go into first phase, and it's 10 times harder than what you just got through doing. So is it a good picture of what Buds is to come? Sure. It's a good familiarization. You know how to use the boats, you know how to take care of the boats, you know how to use the logs and how to move with the logs, but you're just going to do it so much more once you're in phase all day type of stuff. All right. I'm in an ACFL in my unit and people are always past obesity. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to America. I've been, the reason why I joined um, the fitness world, if you will, when I got out is because I saw that. And this was in the 90s, right? So the 90s, it was bad, right? But it's gotten much worse. I think we're like a third of the country was obese or overweight. Now we're like at 2/3 of the country is obese or overweight. Military is just a, cross section of that. So yeah, it's not good. But here's the problem. Unfit people don't buy fitness books. Unfit people typically aren't listening to me talk right now. I would guarantee the reason why you're on here is to work out harder and work out smarter. And if you're a beginner, good job. Good job being here. And hopefully, I can help you as well. Because let me tell you, some of my most rewarding work is not to get somebody to crush a PST and do 25 pull ups, go from 15 to 25 or 8-minute swim and run. It's to get somebody to lose 80 to 100 pounds in a year. And now that person wants to serve and do something in the army or police force or firefighter. And, it's just that's rewarding. All of it is rewarding, but that is a different level. When you help somebody with a lifestyle change that and they know that they just are now more able to accomplish their goals and some of their dreams because they've dropped 100 pounds. That's very fulfilling. So, and it's not impossible. So don't give up. Somebody says stair stepper and rucking may worsen stress fractures if you never rest to heal. That is true. Low impact activities like swimming allow the pain to subside and the increase. Oh, yeah. I mean, you should be doing mostly non impact stuff, but there is a time when your stress fractures are healed, right? That you can start the impact forces to make them stronger. Maybe I should have explained that, but I get what you're saying. Ryan says, I did not recover from groin pulls and lower back pulls for almost 6 months because I avoided the sun. Okay. Work night shifts and neglected many vitamins and minerals. Don't neglect magnesium and zinc. There you go. Yes, you can't do flip turns on the PST. At least the PST for Navy going to buds or SWIC or diver EOD, you can't. I don't. You might be able to for rescue swimmer because they do a freestyle. I don't know, but maybe not. Yeah, I think the rule is you got to touch the end of the pool with your hand. So Navy guys, you can't do flip turns either. Let's see. Somebody asked, do I still offer Heroes of Tomorrow? If so, how much would access to the pool gym cost? Well, I do. And if you go to heroesoftomorrow.org, you will see what that program is. First of all, it's free coaching for anybody who wants to serve. That is what I do every morning, 6 days a week. In fact, I did it this morning. And we don't use the gym all the time, but we do use the pool, and we have a free hour in the day that they let us use the pool for free. Any other time from that hour, you have to pay for it. I think not sure what it is. If you're active duty, I think it's like $6 to use the pool. If you're not, might be $8. I mean, it's not cheap, but they give us a free hour just because we do fundraisers for them just to say thanks for letting us use the pool and weight room whenever we need it. All right. When training for Army SF, would you recommend running in boots better or regular running shoes? Also, I run mostly on sand because it's easier on my shins. Should I keep doing that? Switch to asphalt. I would say a mix of both. Run on sand and asphalt, trails, dirt, track, whatever. Mix it up with your boots and shoes as well. Wavy Tan says, thanks for the help and input. I appreciate it. Join the Marines because of your stuff. Oh, man, that's cool. Good job. What's the chances of getting a SEAL contract even if you're in elite performance? I'm not sure what you're meaning there. I've been told a lot of the process is how you were raised and what your life experiences would have in the past. I don't, dude, it's a cross section of society. It doesn't matter who you are, right? As long as you want to be a SEAL or spec war, you can get through it. And you got to prepare though. Like it's okay to want it, but you got to be prepared. I don't know what elite performance is, but there's plenty of not elite people making it through buds. If that, I'm not sure what you're asking there. You don't have to be an elite performer to get through. You just have to be tough as shit and get through it. And be conditioned enough to handle it. Have no weaknesses, remember? Like a tactical athlete doesn't need to be an A plus in any of the elements of fitness. They need to be a good solid B, B plus even, especially for the spec ops level, just good at everything. Not great at any one and suck at another. Just got to be good at everything. Did you have an idea of how long you would stay in the teams when you got in, or just played it day by day? You know what? We did a class poll, kind of like a raffle, like who was like from the Naval Academy. People in my company, which was like 30 of us, like who would stay in for life. And I put me as like I was going to stay in for 20 plus years. I had originally planned to stay in for 20 plus years. Um, but things change. You know, got married, started having kids. It was before 9/11. It was a different world. Were there any oh crap I didn't think of training this face palming moment in buds, or did you feel decently ready? Overall, I felt decently ready for everything. I will say there were obviously um, challenges. I wouldn't say there were. It was buds was easy. I mean, there were easier things than others. I would say that some of the harder things were just what people think is easy, like running. People don't think that running is hard at buds. For me, as a powerlifting football player, I knew that was my weakness, and I focused for years to get better at running. And I could do a 4 miler in 28. My best was a 26:30, and I still that was a gut check to do that. So um, none of it was easy. Um, but I've said this before. The one thing I realized that while I was doing them that I should have done more of was flutter kicks. I did a lot of flutter kicks. I did flutter kicks with fins on the pool deck, all that stuff. Did them with boots on and pants on, but I didn't do them with wet boots and pants on. And that made all the difference. That was like, oh man, I got to bring my A game to this event because these suck and they burn you out a lot faster than being dry. So I would say that would be probably that thing I look back to say, yeah, I could have practiced that a little more. Um, how many meters of swimming should be swum before buds 2 to 3 months out? I currently swim 4,000, and the PST is kind of in the way. Um, well, here's the deal: don't let the PST ruin your workouts. In fact, I just wrote an article on that. You'll find it on Stu Smith Fitness. Um, just crush it. Keep crushing that PST, and you should be able to pass a PST even after a workout. So you don't need to take a taper day or two prior to a PST just to pass a PST eventually. Um, but we usually swim 10 to 12,000 yards a week or meters a week. Half of that is with fins, not half. I'd say maybe 30% of it's with fins. So we'll swim with fins for 2,500, 4 to 5,000 a week, and then everything else is without fins and pool skills thrown in. Do I remember my original PST scores? Yeah, I remember. I had like a 8:45 swim, 9-minute run, 140 push-ups, about 110 sit-ups, and 20 pull-ups. So I could do push-ups. And back then you could shake out an arm, right? So you max out your push-ups and shake out an arm, do 10 more, shake out an arm, 10 more. So doing it the new way, highest I ever got was like 111, somewhere around there. But I will say this, I did get my 500 swim down to sub 7 after buds, and my mile and a half down to like 8:15 is my fastest I've ever done it. So the most pull-ups I've ever done is like 25 in a PST, but I could do sets of 30 fresh. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of built for push-ups, big chest, short arms, crank them out. We have dudes still doing that, but they're built like me, big chest, short arms. That makes it pull-ups and push-ups a little easier compared to a long arm guy. All right, folks. I think I have answered all your questions. Somebody said, can I have Jocko do a podcast with Jocko? I'd do a podcast with Jocko anytime. In fact, I just met him for the first time here in Annapolis or at Baltimore during the Army Navy game. That was fun. Let's see. Does it matter whether you pass a PST or not in boot camp? You won't take a PST at boot camp, at least right now. You'll take your PSTs before boot camp. But it does matter. If you don't pass the PST, you don't get a contract. You don't get a contract, you're not going to buds after boot camp. Even if there are PSTs at boot camp, you're not going to get a contract at boot camp. They used to do it that way back when, where you would show up, take a PST at boot camp, and then they'd send you to buds afterwards after they sent you to your A school first. But they've changed that tremendously since then. Those scores are awesome. Did you specifically train PST events, calisthenics, and cardio? Absolutely. For 2 years, I did because I sucked when I first started. Remember, I was a powerlifting football player that thought anything of long distance was over 100 yards of running. So that was me coming in to the Naval Academy. And, I failed my first fitness test I ever took, failed sit-ups. Um, and I realized, well, first of all, I didn't want to be a SEAL when I got there either. So, fairness, I wasn't trying to crush fitness tests. I was just trying to play football and be a pilot. And then a couple of years in, I was like, you know what? The SEAL thing's pretty cool. I like all those SEAL guys. Just got my ass handed to me every time I went to one of their workouts. And I'm like, I think I can get better at this if I just start focusing on what I suck at, which was calisthenics and cardio. So I just got out of the weight room and I basically did calisthenics and triathlon training. So I ran, biked, and swam for a good year and a half because I couldn't handle all the running that was required. So I just replaced it with biking and swimming more. And I needed to swim because I sucked at swimming too. But yeah, eventually I turned into a pretty good candidate. And, but it takes time. That's why I tell people be patient. Some of these people, train for buds for like 2 months. I'm like, dude, man, I trained for buds for 2 years before I went. So patience really matters. Because a lot of people think they're ready, but you're really not ready. What is acceptable form for push-up on the PFT? How picky are the proctors? I mean, they're going to be picky. You got to straighten your arms. Got to go all the way down. I mean, they're going to look at, are your elbows bending 90 degrees or a little more when you're in the down position? And they're going to look at your elbow when it's in the up position. Are they straight? So, yes, they will be very picky. All right. So, anyway, I'll be back tomorrow about the same time. You guys go check out Stu Smith Fitness. Tons of articles over there. Programs like this get you through training and to training. Army guys over there, Marines, you name it, Marine training. Right now we're doing a winter lift cycle, which looks like this: increase strength, crush the PST. In fact, this week is our kind of a deload week when we're doing, we're doing 4 weeks of strength training. Our 5th week, we're doing a little bit of a deload where we're just focusing cows and cardio. And that's what we did today. A little bit of cows. Actually, you did squats and lunges and ran about 6 miles with some intervals thrown in there, hill intervals. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow. You guys have a good one, and come with questions. I'm happy to answer them. Until then, you guys have a good one.